What is up, everybody? We're going to get into what is Judaism, what do they believe, how they differ from Christians, and a little bit of stereotypes. So here we go. So at the end of this lesson, what we're going to look at, who founded Judaism, the religion, the people, the origins geographically, what we're talking about, because it gets confusing when we look at Israel and the Star of David, and some essential stories, customs, holidays, just come on overarching um, ideas and customs that you might have heard of or seen in pop culture. So to start, when you think about the world's religion ranked by number of adherents, Judaism is that real tiny slice right there. Okay, so you're looking at a super small percentage of the world, 0.23%. And this is going to be important because when we look at what happens in Nazi Germany and throughout Eastern Europe and really the history of Judaism, when we get into anti-Semitism, this idea that the Jews are able to take over the world when they are one of the smallest religions in the world. So again, also important to think about when we look at the impact of Jews throughout history, to remember that they are always a minority in every country, except for Israel, which we'll talk about that, because their population is extremely small. Okay, so what is Judaism? Kind of difficult to describe. It's a tradition about a people. It's a relationship with God. It's a way of life. We'll look at some assignments. You can be an atheist, but still consider yourself a Jew. So is it a religion? You don't have to live in Israel, so it's not necessarily a place, homeland. It's kind of confusing. Okay. So by the end of this, hopefully you'll have a better idea through this presentation and our class discussions. So to start, so the Hebrew people. So Hebrew, the language of the people, the Jewish people, were one of the Middle Eastern tribes thousands of years ago. And Abram, which later is going to change his name to Abraham, is inspired by God to follow the one God as presented in Judaism, and convinces his family and his tribe to stop worshiping idols and follow one God in the form of monotheism. Now, this is going to be the start of a pretty radical concept. There's some small groups up until this point that were vaguely monotheism, but Judaism is going to be the first that is one of the core tenets of their faith. So important to note that this idea of monotheism really catching hold, and the Jewish people, which they will become, stop being polytheist. So God establishes this covenant or this relationship with Abraham and his tribe, the Hebrews, and this is what we're going to see throughout the course. They refer to themselves as the chosen people because of this covenant or this relationship with God. In turn, they're supposed to obey God's word in return for blessings amongst the people. So the Hebrew people embrace this idea, this religion of Judaism, and that's kind of going to be the start. Now, again, you can take entire courses, lifetime on all of this. We're really just looking for the basics to get us have some common language for this course. So monotheistic, a set of ethical behavior. When you think about the 10 Commandments, okay, so you have Abraham. We're looking at the modern day Middle East. All right. When we look at modern day Israel, which we'll talk about later, so this family tree of the Jewish people. So you have Abraham, and when you trace down, they talk about the three Abrahamic religions. So if you can trace down all the way through the family tree, and then you get the 12 tribes of Judah, and out of this, the 12 tribes of Jacob, out of this line of Judah, you're going to get Jesus, who is Jewish. So you'll get the birth of Christianity. Out of this line with Ishmael, one of Abram's first son, actually, you will get the Prophet Muhammad. So when they talk about the three Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, it's because they're all interconnected in this family tree stemming from Abraham. So some of the core tenets, okay, when you think about the Christian Bible, which is in every hotel room in the United States, the first half of the Old Testament, that is what Jews generally go by. The first 5 books are the most important. They would be referred to as the Torah. Okay, now a lot of the prophets, Moses and David and Solomon and Abraham and Noah, all of these Old Testament figures are all Jewish. Okay, so now again, kids always ask, I don't get it. What's the difference? So when you think about the difference between Christians and Jews, the first Christians were all Jews. Okay, so Jesus was Jewish. He's referred to as a rabbi. If you think about the Last Supper picture, that is a Passover meal. So Jesus is put to death, and his followers that believe he was the Jewish Messiah become Christians. The group that rejects Jesus as the Messiah, they remain Jewish. So the Old Testament was all written by Jews. All of the, you think of the New Testament, Paul the Apostle and Peter and John, they were all Jews to begin with and then converted to Christianity. So this is again going to be important when we look at anti-Semitism and some of the backlash against Jews for their religion. Okay, and you can pause this if you're really interested in seeing the difference, as far as what they believe on certain ideals. Okay, so the 10 Commandments, the standard of living, okay, this is part of God's relationship. This is part of the covenant. We've all, probably heard of this, whether you're religious or not. There's actually 613 laws written in the Torah, which, in class we usually go over this. There's dietary laws, there's how to dress, prayer rules, temple rites. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there, which again, it's a way that the Jews are going to be seen as different from the rest of society because they are following these laws, these commandments that go beyond just the 10 Commandments. Okay. Now, this again, just one of the interesting pieces that we'll see kind of separating the Jewish people, the dietary restrictions. You can't mix meat and dairy together, and you can't have certain types of food. You can't have shellfish. If you're going to have certain types of animals that you can eat, that you can't eat. Modern day products, if you ever look, and they have this little symbol on there, that is certifying that it was made in a kosher environment. Okay, so now real quickly, some Jewish culture, customs, just things that people have probably seen. This we will see throughout the course, the Star of David. This was from the house of David, the Old Testament king. Today, more commonly seen as the emblem on the Israeli flag. So we'll see this as Jews have to wear the symbol, the Star of David. It is a Jewish religious and political symbol. Okay, so the menorah, this is one of the temple candelabras. Okay, again, a lot of times during Christmas season or Hanukkah, which usually coincides just as far as the calendar. A lot of times people will see these at stores. Okay, some of the layouts of the temple. So synagogues are the places of worship for Jews, and Rock County's only synagogue is actually in Beloit, Wisconsin, which most people did not know. So a lot of stuff on how it's laid out. This is what I talked about before, the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses. So in the Christian Bible, referred to as Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Here you have the Hebrew names for the first 5 books on the scrolls, which we'll look at a little bit more in class. Some of the dress garb for the high priests. There's the scrolls, which again, some of these can cost upwards of several $100,000 because they have to be very meticulously made, and a lot of them are adorned with lots of jewels. Okay, rabbi, which we'll see throughout this course, in Hebrew means teacher. It's not necessarily like a priest or a reverend or a minister. They really have a lot of different roles, but that's what we're referring to as. Some other customs. Okay, Hanukkah is not the Jewish version of Christmas. Okay, it's the Festival of Lights, of the Old Testament story of the Maccabees, withstanding onslaught from various tribes, and they had this period of persecution where you had a candelabra, a menorah that magically, or not, I guess, miraculously stayed lit for the 8 days, and they celebrate this as kind of the God being with them through their persecution. Okay, the bar mitzvah or the bat mitzvah, if a boy or girl, when they turn 13, this is when they're seen as an adult in the eyes of the religion. So we'll look at this in class. So you might have seen these in movies and whatnot. This is kind of a coming of age ceremony. A lot of times, when you think of Super Sweet 16 shows, or, your 18th birthday in the Jewish religion, it's at age 13. The Sabbath, so in Christianity, the Sabbath is Sunday. That is the holy day for Christians because of the resurrection of Christ. For Jews, it would be starting from Friday night through Saturday. Okay, this goes in with the Genesis story of God resting, so there's special meals and songs, but the Sabbath is not Sunday like when Christianity, it is Friday through Saturday. So real quick, again, Judaism starts in the Middle East, but the Holocaust is in Europe. Okay, what did I miss? So going back in history, you have the Middle East being controlled by the Romans, and the temple, which is in Jerusalem in the Middle East, is going to be destroyed. So after this destroying of the temple, you'll have something, and this is going to be a pretty important word that we're going to look at, called the diaspora, where Jews are going to really spread throughout Europe, North Africa, the Mediterranean. And as Jews leave the Middle East and go throughout, they're going to be an ethnic and religious minority in all of these different countries, and then we'll see a lot of this anti-Semitism. So a lot of this, again, going back to the temple being destroyed. If you've ever seen the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem, okay, this is what remains of King Solomon's temple. It was destroyed by the Romans. There was an uprising in 70 AD, and this is what's going to start the diaspora. So now Jews, which started as a local group in modern-day Israel, will now spread throughout Eastern and Western Europe and the Mediterranean. Okay, some Jewish stereotypes that we'll look at more in class. We've talked about, they're oversimplified. Okay, now again, we will look at more of these when we get to anti-Semitism. Okay, some of the Jewish stereotypes that we'll see throughout this class will come out again and again about money, about being greedy. Okay, so just an overview. Again, we will get into anti-Semitism a lot more. It's just wanted to get you all on the right path. All right.